Welcome back to Conversation about Trusting God. And today we're going to learn a little bit more. We're going to unpack together trusting God that He is leading us. And I can't think of any more time in our lives where we need God to lead us more than where we find ourselves now. But certainly at every moment in our life, we are called to let God lead us through not only the journey of life, but also to the place of blessing and you might say to a deeper relationship with Him. God's the one who's leading. That means we're trusting in His leading. And that's where we continue to see in Acts of the Apostles. I introduced to you yesterday kind of like where we're going this week, and I had mentioned that in Acts of the Apostles, I'm fascinated with how the early church had to let God lead them. I mean, think about it. 2,000 years ago, no one knew what life without Jesus would look like, right? No one knew what life without His physical presence in the flesh, even in His risen presence. None of them knew what that was going to look like. They didn't know what it meant to be churched. They didn't know what it meant to evangelize. They didn't know what they were going to say when they were before the Sanhedrin. And God led them every step of the way. In the midst of all the unknown, God led them. In the midst of all of their fear and their personal inadequacy, God led them. With every decision that they had to make when they didn't know what to do, God led them. And I'm just really encouraged when I look at Acts of the Apostles, which is the readings we're following this Easter season, because God is leading us today just as much as He led the early church, or just as much as He led them in the Acts of the Apostles. I think when I look at my own life and trusting that God is leading, on one hand, I know the beauty of that because I know what my life looks like when I let Him lead. But I also know the struggle in that. I also know the resistance in that and why sometimes I don't do that. But to trust that God is leading, for me, that means I have to trust that God is leading when I don't know what to do. There are lots of situations that I come across that I just don't know what to do. I remember being in the seminary and they said that there's a difference between being prepared and being ready. The seminary couldn't prepare me for every conceivable situation that I was going to face, but I was ready to be ordained, even though I wasn't prepared for the exact game plan for every situation. I was ready to enter into those situations because I knew that God was going to lead me. And I wonder if you have ever felt like that. There's a difference between being prepared and being ready. Life cannot prepare you for every situation that you're going to find yourself in, whether it's dealing with COVID-19 or not, whether it's dealing with stuff that you've been dealing with or not, right? You may not feel prepared for the things that you have to face in life, like being a mom or a dad or a husband or a wife, or navigating the different seasons in life. But that doesn't mean they're not ready. See, God leads us when we don't know what to do. And if you've ever felt like you don't know what to do, the encouragement for you today is just to know that God is leading you every step of the way. Number two, when we say that God is leading, that also reminds us that God knows where we're going when we don't know where we're going. And that means that God sees what He sees even when we don't see what God sees. I was ordained 19 years ago. I never would have guessed that my priesthood has unfolded the way it has. I never thought I would be either doing some of the things I've done in the past or some of the things I'm doing now. Or 19 years ago, I never would have seen a microphone and a camera and doing podcasts during COVID-19. But God saw all that, right? And when God is leading me, He's not only leading me in the current present moment, But God is leading me in the present moment, knowing that he sees my future. And sometimes what makes it difficult to trust God or rely on God, sometimes what makes it difficult to let God lead us is because we don't see where he's going. And they give you an analogy. Let's imagine that you and I are on a journey and we want to get to the beach. But in order to get to the beach, we have to go through a forest. Now, I love the beach. I love the water. It does something to me. I relax. My spirit is much more at ease and at peace. I love the beach. But I don't necessarily like, I'm a little claustrophobic, so I don't necessarily like the forest. I can't see my way out. I don't know where we're going. And let's imagine that I'm just little old me, and I'm in, there's a path that leads through the forest to the ocean. Now, when I'm walking through the forest, I can't see the ocean. All I see is what's in front of me, right? But let's imagine that God is like 1,000 foot tall, and God is walking with me, and he not only sees the forest, but he sees the ocean, right on the other side. See, God sees where I am, but he also sees what's ahead because of how big he is, right? So when I'm trusting that God is leading me, I'm also trusting that God is seeing what I'm not seeing. And there may be things in your own life right now that he's trying to lead your family. He's trying to lead your marriage. He's trying to lead you professionally or financially, spiritually. He's trying to lead you with your health or whatever. And just know that God sees, right, what you don't see. And that makes it easier for us to let him lead us. And certainly when God was leading the early church, he saw all the beautiful miracles, but they couldn't see that sometimes when they were in their own difficulty. So trusting God, letting him lead us, requires, number one, that we trust that he can see what we can't see, but it also requires that we trust in the person who's leading us. I love to fish. And I have a very dear friend of mine, Boudreau, who I love dearly. He's an awesome man and an awesome disciple, and he's one of those friends that has made the biggest impact on me in my life. And I love fishing with Donald. I don't claim to be an expert fisherman. I just like to be on a boat and I like to fish. And there are moments where, as we're fishing, he's coaching me on doing this and doing that. And sometimes it doesn't immediately work. But I trust in him because I know he's an excellent fisherman. I trust in him because I know the quality of his heart. I trust in him because I know the beauty of his experience as being on the water so much. And in those moments when I can't trust what I'm doing, I can trust him because I trust the person. Gosh, the same is true with God, isn't it? Right? Even when he's leading me and I don't know if I can trust a step, I can trust a person. And if I'm convinced that God is asking me to do this, then the discernment's over. My only response is yes, because I trust the person. So when God leads us, it's important for us to be able to follow him. It's important for us to trust in him. Where's God leading you at this stage of your life? Where maybe God's trying to lead you to take steps that you struggle with, or maybe he's leading you in your family or in your marriage or financially or professionally, all those ways. But that would be a really good question, I think, for us to ponder today. Like, where's God leading you? And what's it like for you as he leads you? And do you see or not see what he might see as he's leading you? But to make it personal, here's your homework for today. Ask yourself, where is God leading you? How is he leading you? And remember that there's a person who's leading us and he can be trusted. And maybe in some conversation with him, he can bless you as he leads you. Looking forward to being with you tomorrow as we continue to unpack the tension around relying on God and depending on him. And until that conversation unfolds tomorrow, God bless you.